Congress's nonpartisan scorekeeper says the bipartisan infrastructure bill would add $256 billion to the federal deficit over the next decade. As senators work to pass the plan in their chamber, our Lisa Desjardins takes another detailed look at the bill.
At the heart of this billion-dollar-plus bill, by far the biggest piece is classic transportation, things that help us move. There is $453 billion total for roads, bridges, and surface transportation. Another $66 billion is for railways, and there are billions for ferries. There is need. An estimated 1 in 5 roads in this country is in poor condition, and tens of thousands of bridges need repair. Anyone who's gone near an American city knows, for the most part, traffic is getting worse. To help us unpack all of this, we have Tom Smith from the American Society of Civil Engineers joining us. Tom, I gotta say, all of these numbers this week, sometimes it feels like funny money. Can you help us understand what nearly $500 billion means, and how much of our road and bridge problem will that solve?
This is a problem that we've had in failing to invest in our infrastructure for many, many decades. We do a report card on America's infrastructure, and for the last 20 years, we've been really failing to keep up. And we've been kicking a can further and further down the road. So the bill has continued to go up every year. So when we last released our report card in 2021, just this year, and as we do it every 4 years, we showed just on the surface transportation side over the next 10 years, really an investment gap of $1.2 trillion. That's out of a total of $2.6 trillion when you look at all the 17 categories of infrastructure that ASCE evaluates with our report card on America's infrastructure.
So then $500 billion gets us part of the way there, but not all the way.
Yeah, and the important thing to think about is that is money that's being spent over a 5-year period. And when we look at our investment gap and we say $1.2 trillion, that's over a 10-year period. And we're also looking at all elements. So that requires federal investment, state, local, and private investment. So while it's not going to get us all the way there by any stretch, it is absolutely a step in the right direction, and it's visionary. It's a generational investment in our infrastructure, and I think it's going to put us on the right track. It will also, I think, spur additional investment at the state, local, and private sector levels and make our infrastructure more sustainable, more resilient, being able to look over the horizon, preparing for the future. We're certainly seeing, more severe weather events than we had when we were first building this infrastructure 50, 60, 75, sometimes 100 or more years ago.
I want to talk about trains, and I also want to talk about ferries. We spoke to someone who works in the rail industry. He told us what he thinks this bill means for them.
It's going to make it possible to build the track that we need to expand. It's going to make it possible to add service in a lot of cities all across the country. Probably not the 160 that Amtrak would like to add, but it might come pretty close depending on how we do it. What it won't do, however, is buy us, for example, a network of high-speed trains all across the country.
Now, for ferries, it's mostly all good news. We spoke with a woman in Alaska who runs an ice cream shop, and she depends on ferries. It's easier to get to where she is, usually by water than by land. Here's what she said about the problem.
With constant breakdowns and ferries taken offline and ferries aged out, a community is really affected by its quality of life and what makes people want to stay in a community. It's the lifeblood of a community if the residents are strong and healthy and happy. And the ferry is our transportation.
So there's 2 other types of transportations that are getting huge influxes of cash over the next 5 years from this. But this is a bill that has red ink to it. Tom, I want to ask you about criticism from Republicans that this is not worth the debt, and some of them say it could do some harm in inflation.
Now, I think this is absolutely a critical investment. As you just heard, I mean, these are investments that we need in this country, whether it's rail or transit or even the ferry service. This is a well thought out bill as I've gone through it. Obviously, it's not perfect, but it's a bipartisan effort. It's been really well thought out. When you look at the ferry service that was referenced there, I know there was at least $1 billion was referenced for ferry service in rural communities. And while we talk about the cost of investing in our infrastructure, I think one of the things we'll have to also consider is, what is the cost when we fail to invest? That time that you spend sitting in traffic, the inefficiencies in our system, repairing your car when you hit a pothole, added costs for goods and services because we have failed to invest in our infrastructure. This all costs us money. And we did an economic study that we found that it's $3,300 per year per family. That's the hidden tax that we're paying today. So while we talk about what does it cost to invest in our infrastructure and to modernize and maintain it, we have to ask ourselves, what's the cost if we fail to do that? It's far greater.
So the bill is called the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. What do we know about how many jobs this really could create?
Well, I think this will create an enormous opportunity and jobs in many, many different sectors. Certainly the construction industry, there's a lot of jobs in the construction industry that will be created, but also those who finance, those who insure, those who design, those who operate and maintain our infrastructure. Then you also have the suppliers. So this is going to have a major impact on manufacturing, which depends on the infrastructure that will now be better able to compete in a global marketplace. And then, of course, all those workers are supported by a workforce, and they have pension plans and benefits. And by the way, they also have money now that they can spend and put back into the economy. So I think that it's far-reaching, the job creation by a bill like this, and also what it does for the economy.
These are issues that affect every single American. Tom Smith of the American Society of Civil Engineers, thank you for helping take us through it.
My pleasure. Thank you.